Whoa, wait a minute. Did a leak just confirm a Nintendo Switch 2 game? Let's talk about it. This information was first discovered by a YouTuber by the name of DogTray81, to which I'll put his account right here, where basically, over on LinkedIn, he noticed that there is a Nintendo contractor by the name Takashi Maruyama, where he added working experience as a 3D character modeler for a sequel to one of Nintendo's SRPG games. For those of you who don't know, SRPG means strategy role-playing game. And in that genre of game, Nintendo technically does have two franchises. First off, there is Advance Wars, but I don't know, it's pretty clear that it's most likely not Advance Wars because the other one is Fire Emblem. But despite this recent discovery, is it enough to actually believe a new Fire Emblem game is actually coming anytime soon? Is there literally any supporting evidence for this? And to that, I'll say actually, yes. Let's start off easy with some really shallow evidence. First off, we're just kind of due for a new Fire Emblem game. We get one every couple of years, and the last game to come out, Fire Emblem Engage, came out on January 20th, 2023. The next piece of evidence I want to look at is a missing Fire Emblem game, because for those of you who don't know, the code names for every Fire Emblem game that's been coming out recently have had a very strict format, I guess you could say. Fire Emblem Awakening was 14 Iron, Fire Emblem Fates was Iron 15, Fire Emblem Echoes was Iron 16, then Three Houses was Iron 17. Logically, the next game, Fire Emblem Engage, should be Iron 18 because that's the next number and they've just been saying Iron then adding a number, but Fire Emblem Echoes is actually Iron 19. So there is a missing game in the middle, but these are only for mainline games. So because it's only for mainline games, that disqualifies Fire Emblem Three Hopes because that codename was actually Seasons. But here is where information starts to overlap. So, a lot of people have been speculating for a very long time that this missing Fire Emblem game is actually a remake of Fire Emblem 4 Genealogy of the Holy War. And for those of you who don't know, Fire Emblem, every time they remake a game, it's always in chronological order. So you have Fire Emblem 1, then 2, but Fire Emblem 3 is just a remake of 1. And the next game to get a remake was actually Fire Emblem 2 in the shape of Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. So logically speaking, the next game to get a remake is Fire Emblem 3, but it's not going to be that because, or at least that's what we think, it's already a remake from Fire Emblem 1. Meaning, so the next one up for a remake is actually Fire Emblem 4. And I also think there's supporting evidence to this as well, because Fire Emblem Engage was actually rumored to be some sort of anniversary celebratory type of game, and it definitely does feel that way because they do celebrate, literally every Fire Emblem game. But one of the first emblems you get in the game is Sigurd, and Sigurd is such a random choice for this because he does play a big enough role in the game. He's very present. But Fire Emblem 4, the game that Sigurd is in, never really released out here in the West. So there's no reason for people to technically, and I mean, technically know who he is, so it is a random choice to get him to be so present in the story. However, if there actually was a Fire Emblem 4 remake that was meant to come out before Fire Emblem Engage, it would make a whole lot more sense. But even though there's so much logic behind actually having this remake be a thing that is, existent, it also doesn't necessarily fit in the context of what we're talking about right now either, because this 3D modeler or 3D character modeler has stated that he's actually working on a sequel to a Nintendo game, meaning it's coming after, not before. And also, the way I interpret this, if it's a sequel, it can't be a remake either. But then also, if you think about a sequel to a Fire Emblem game, the only two ones that logically make sense to, have a sequel at the moment are Fire Emblem Three Houses and also Fire Emblem Engage, to which both kind of don't feel like they need one. Simply because, if you think of Three Houses, the way that game ends just feels very conclusive. There's different routes, so it's then they have to pick which one is actually the canon route, which one is not the canon route. They're all canon, I guess. But I guess, even if they really wanted to do it, they could find a way to make it work, get a new cast of characters, things like that. But then also, like Fire Emblem Engage, like I said, it's supposed to be, or at least it was supposed to be more of a Fire Emblem anniversary thing, so it's not like that necessarily needs a sequel either. Mind you, I wouldn't complain because I actually really preferred Fire Emblem Engage over Three Houses, just because like the gameplay is a lot more fun. Now the final piece of supporting evidence we'll dive into before I go into my opinions is that there's also a Nintendo Direct that is rumored to be happening soon. Now the reason why I think this is supporting evidence is typically around when directs are supposed to happen, information is going to start to leak naturally. This is because a lot of people might have not completely gotten the memo or might have been miscommunicated when they can start making things, official. So it would make sense that if there is truly a Nintendo Direct coming either this week or most likely probably next week, that there is probably going to be an announcement for Fire Emblem in at least one way or another. But what do I personally think about all of this? Let's get into it, but right before then, I have a very short message. If this is your first time here, hey, my name's Acadrien and I post weekly Nintendo videos just like this. So if that sounds like something you would enjoy, I would greatly appreciate it if you would simply consider to like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's go right back into the video. Now, in my own personal humble opinion, do I really think a new Fire Emblem game is coming so soon in the new console generation? Yeah, absolutely. But here's my honest thing. Although I do believe that a new Fire Emblem game is coming, I still do think it is going to be that remake of Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. And I think it's going to be one of those games, kind of like Pokemon Legends Z-A, where you have a Switch 2 edition game physically and the Switch 1 edition game. The reason why I'm saying that, despite this person clearly stating that he's working on a sequel to a Fire Emblem game, what I'm questioning is, we're speaking English right now, and unless you have the auto dubbing feature, you are also listening to me in English. But the person who wrote this on LinkedIn works in Japan. Of course, most likely speaking Japanese. So does the word sequel truly mean what it is sounding to us? You know what I mean? Like, is it something that's just lost in translation? Does he mean that he's working on the next, which is, the next is also a sequel, and the next game can be a remake? But again, that's just what I believe. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you think a new Fire Emblem game is coming so soon in the Switch 2 generation? Let me know down in the comments. I would once again like to thank you for watching the video all the way to the end, and if you did enjoy this video, why not check out another one? For whatever reason, YouTube thinks that you'll enjoy this one, so try checking out that one next. And until next time, Warao.